And now, live from the Macon studios of News Talk 940 WMAC, it's Your Money.
Good morning, Middle Georgia, and welcome to Your Money. We are Randy and Sherry Goss with the Rosenberg Financial Group. And as financial advisors, the main thing that we do is provide retirement planning and advice and manage our clients' investment accounts. And if you're looking for a financial advisor, please contact our office and set up your complimentary consultation. Our office number is 478-922-8100, and we have offices in Macon and Warner Robins for your convenience. To find out more about us, visit our website, retirerelax.com, where you can read a number of special reports and listen to past radio show broadcasts. And you can sign up to receive our digital feeds, which provide great information on various subjects in a short video format. We also offer free seminars to the community, so if you're a member of a church or a community organization and you're looking for a guest speaker, give us a call. And if you'd like to call into the show today, the number is 478-742-0940, or you can send me an email to randy@rfmoney.com, and we'll cover your questions in a future broadcast. Good morning, Sherry.
Good morning.
Yeah. Let's see here. We just got back from a wonderful trip to Quebec, Canada, and
it's beautiful there,
and learned a lot of good travel tips that we're not going to share those with you, but it was it's like how to sleep on a carpet in an airport. So
and be stuck at Hartsfield for 23 hours.
Right. Anyway, before we get started, you may have noticed that our intro and ending disclaimers that we are no longer referencing Royal Alliance Associates, and we are now referencing Osaic Wealth. Royal Alliance Associates was a broker-dealer under Advisor Group, and there were 8 different broker-dealers with different names, different technologies, and different cultures. And to streamline operations, the Advisor Group president set a course to move everyone to one name and streamline the operations grid. So, Advisor Group changed the name to Osaic, which is Mosaic without the M. And Royal Alliance was the first of many broker-dealers to change their names as well to the new corporate standard. Many years ago, AIG was sold to Advisor Group, and they have been on a multi-year program to overhaul the entire program to enhance client service and interaction and make the future growth easier. And I've been with Advisor Group for 10 years. As a matter of fact, this month will make 10 years.
Oh, congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. Where's my cake? Anyway, Sherry's been with the company for 17 years, and we love what we're seeing with regards to the changes. When the president of Osaic stands up and says he's making change in any number of the different programs, we can be confident that change is going to happen. That is probably boring to you, but for us it's a big deal, and we're very pleased with the improvements. And if you'd like to visit us for a complimentary consultation, please give us a call at 478-922-8100 to schedule an appointment. On to the market, Sharon.
I love our leadership in this company. I mean, I'm sitting there, I'm a nobody, and one of the top heads comes and sits next to me and wants to know how I'm doing. I mean, it's just, They really care about our business. They really care about our practice. They want to help us be able to grow, and it's all about helping us grow faster, better.
And it's about helping the clients have a better interaction with us. It's just phenomenal what they're doing. It's great.
Yep. Very, very exciting. So the S&P 500 closed down for the week, and we'll get to the reason behind that in a few minutes. Headlines this week: the private sector added 324,000 jobs in July, well above expectations, according to ADP. Most of these jobs were in the service sector. The Chicago Business Barometer is a leading indicator of the U.S. economy. An indicator reading above 50 indicates expansion, while below 50 suggests contraction. The forecast provided a reading of 43.3, while the actual reading 42.8, which indicates a contraction in the economy. But the previous month was 41.5. So it's the same thing. You keep hearing and hearing and hearing. Things are bad, but they're not bad. It's just that they're getting better slowly.
Right.
So productivity of American workers and companies rebounded in the second quarter, growing at a 3.7% annualized pace. And the Bank of America revised its forecast for a recession in the U.S. The bank now expects to see a soft landing with waning inflation, making it the first large Wall Street bank to officially reverse its call. This change comes considering growing optimism toward the economic outlook, and only a week after Fed Chair Jerome Powell said the central bank's economists are also no longer predicting a recession. Bank of America highlighted positive economic indicators such as low unemployment and easing inflation over the past 3 months.
Right. And oil prices perk up as recession worries ebb and supply tightens. Some banks say Brent could rise as much as $100 a barrel. Oil prices have surged to the highest levels in 3 months as economic outlook improves and supply cuts from the world's largest producers start to bite. Some analysts believe the benchmark crude futures are due to further gains and could head towards the $100 a barrel range. And after trading within a few dollars either side of 80 a barrel so far this year, another move higher would quickly translate into higher gas prices for all of us and would make life a little harder for officials at the Federal Reserve and other central banks who are trying to bring inflation back down to their target levels. Changes in both supply and demand are fueling the upswing. On the upside, declining inventories. On the supply side, declining inventories reflect recent production cuts from Saudi Arabia and Russia, in contrast to earlier this year when traders say analysts suspected Moscow had failed to follow through on an earlier pledge to pump less oil, and that's probably because they needed money for their war effort.
Right. Credit rating agency Fitch Ratings downgraded the U.S. government sovereign credit grade from AAA to AA+, which is why the market was down this week. This sparked much criticism from leading economists, though Fitch defended its call by highlighting expected fiscal deterioration, the government's growing debt burden, and repeated debt limit standoffs and last-minute resolutions. Fitch said they believed that the debt increase over the past decade could be attributed to tax cuts, new spending initiatives, and the many economic shocks. Fitch expressed concerns about the unaddressed medium-term challenges related to rising Social Security and Medicare costs, which concern me too.
Yep, and the Fitch analyst behind the U.S. downgrade provided his thoughts, his processes behind his decision with 3 major points. We'll cover these comments and add a little bit of information that Ladenburg Asset Management made as counterpoints to the Fitch comments. The first was Fitch said that the U.S. needs to see a significant or sustained improvement in the debt-to-GDP ratio. Ladenburg pointed out that after peaking in the second quarter of 2020 at 134%, the debt-to-GDP ratio has been in a downward trend ever since and currently sits at 118 as of the first quarter 2023. And that data was taken from the latest data set from the Federal Reserve. The second was that from the Fitch analyst, he pointed to a deterioration in the quality of governance. For example, in 2007, general government debt was less than 60%, and now it's at 113%. Furthermore, they expect to see fiscal deficits and the total U.S. debt rise over the next 3 years. He pointed to the inability to come up with a meaningful solution to deal with the growing fiscal issues, particularly around entitlements programs such as Social Security and Medicare. Ladenburg acknowledges the country's growing debt burden and political standoffs, as such the one over the debt ceiling last month. But the recent bipartisan agreement over the debt limit may actually qualify as an improvement, albeit a small one, in governance quality.
So I think that's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
This was just one instance or one data point in a severely divided political spectrum. And like you said earlier, a trend is more than one data point in the same direction. Mm-hmm. There was a big article in the Wall Street Journal Thursday that they don't expect our government to stop the insane spending anytime soon. And I think the next election will have both sides promising more free money in all directions.
You bet. And lastly, Fitch foresees a decline in the country's macroeconomic policy performance and perspectives. Ladenburg responded that the macroeconomic picture has largely improved, supported by recent strong economic data. For example, the U.S. real gross domestic product increased to an annual rate of 2.4. Consumer optimism increased, jumping for the second straight month to 117 in July, registering the index's highest reading since July of 2021. And inflationary pressures continue to ease, as demonstrated by the headline consumer price index, which fell for the 12th consecutive month to a reading of 3.
I just thought of something.
Yeah.
These things make us sound like really boring people to hang out with.
How's your pocket protector doing over there? You got no pins in it?
No. So the bottom line is that the U.S. Treasury securities are still one of the most coveted assets in the world, and this is highly unlikely to change. In the first half of the year, there was over $10 trillion of new treasuries issued and over $750 billion in trading volume. Although the debt-to-GDP ratio is currently at 118%, the perceived chance of default by the U.S. government is next to none. This downgrade is likely to have little impact on fixed income or equity markets without further fiscal provocation in the coming quarters. Treasuries are not bought because of their rating, but rather because of their liquidity and purpose as a proxy for cash. The rating may be a selling point, but our country has given no indication of default. As a matter of fact, that was the main reason the debt ceiling was passed, to prevent the default on interest payments. Do I like the level of debt we're in? No, I hate it. I hate debt, period. But on to the next thing I hate.
Yep. Well, Congress again ignores Social Security's looming insolvency issues, and after a flurry of activities this spring, bipartisan talks on Capitol Hill to stave off the looming insolvency for Social Security are officially on ice, likely until after the 2024 election.
These people need to get their heads straight.
You doggone right. In an interview this week before Congress left for the summer recess, Bill Cassidy didn't mince words. He goes, "I have no optimism whatsoever," and
What?
and he said, my phone was ringing. He said the chances of action this year is not going to happen. A team of 14 senators who were handpicked by Senator Angus King, led by Senator Cassidy, were chartered to investigate options to save Social Security. However, the talks started and never produced a detailed plan. The course of action will become more critical as we move forward because of the timeline. The problems will continue to mount and become more unavoidable in the coming years. A recent government trustee report indicates that Social Security will be in financial peril within a decade if Congress takes no action. The program only has the funds to continue paying out 100% of the benefits through 2034. After that, the benefits can be cut across the board by around 23%. But even as the push to stave off insolvency moves to the back burner, there is some optimism that Congress might move on to smaller security efforts, such as education for retirees and the other one around public sector workers.
Yeah, we covered that last week about the public sector workers, and the education for retirees is simply to tell people to wait and retire later. People aren't going to do it because they think it's going to be insolvent, so they're locking into it now. That's what's driving so many people to take it at 62 as soon as they can, because this is what they hear.
Well, I think the education for retirees is actually providing an alternative education route for them after they retire, so they have something to fall back on.
Yeah, I don't think so.
We're going to have to look it up.
We just need to increase the age in which you can apply for younger workers. That's all we have to do. You could bump it up for 2 years. People between the age of 30 and 45 or something like that, they've already done the math. They already know that's the fix. Nobody has the guts to step up and actually do something about this. And it's completely annoying and a waste of time. And you see what happened in Europe where people were rioting in the streets because Macron did the same thing.
Yep.
He bumped up the age of retirement for young people by 2 years, and people rioted in the streets and trashed buildings and cars and lit fires for a month. And it's like, stop it. This means that you're going to actually get something when you retire. Why are you fighting this? It doesn't make any logical sense to me, but maybe logic is out the window permanently.
Right.
Anyways, so there's a new tax aimed at paying long-term costs for older adults, and it's facing some criticism. And I'm really skeptical on this one.
I am too.
Workers in Washington State saw a new deduction in their paychecks last month, a tax on wages meant to help pay for the cost of long-term care. You can be certain that this will be proposed, debated, and ultimately passed in Georgia in the coming years because it's a trend. And they just passed it and just did it without anybody having to vote on it. The first of its kind tax in the U.S. was created in 2019. However, under the program's timeline, workers began making payroll contributions in July of 2023. It's called Washington Cares Payroll Tax. Here's how it works. Workers in the state who are not otherwise exempt are subject to a 0.58% tax on their wages. That money is directed to a state fund, not their fund. They don't own the fund. It goes to a state fund. The WA Cares program that can be accessed during lifetime to pay for long-term care costs, including needs like food and mobility. Workers can benefit from the program after paying in for 10 years. It's possible to accelerate that benefit in some circumstances. The maximum lifetime benefit is $36,500, which will be adjusted for inflation.
And, financially for the people on the program, it's not a bad deal. Here's an example. A person earning $50,000 gross would be charged $240 per year according to their criteria, and you can't draw it until you've contributed for 10 years. So that would equate to a $2,400 contribution with a $36,500 benefit.
I'm not sure how they're figuring that math.
Well, keep going.
It's the law of large numbers somehow.
Well, it's bound to change, and I just can't see this being sustainable.
No, but here's why this program is being instituted. According to the text of the bill, the senior population has doubled in Washington since 1980, and it will more than double again by 2040. And most middle-class families, they say, have not saved enough for care. Typically, higher-income families may be able to afford long-term care or have engaged in planning like long-term care insurance to pay for anticipated services, and that's a whole other topic. Those already on government assistance likely qualify for more assistance later in life. But middle-class families who have not previously applied for benefits may be forced to rely on families for help or spend down their savings to qualify for government assistance. The spend-down number to qualify for Medicaid is generally around $2,000.
Right, and the cost of medical care is high and projected to continue to rise. The bill noted that in 2019, the average cost for medical home in-home care is $24,000 per year, and the average price for a nursing home care is $65,000 per year. But Genworth, a long-term care provider, put those numbers much higher. Genworth reports that the national median cost for a private nursing home was more than $108,400 per year, or $9,034 per month in 2021, and $4,500 per month for a one-bedroom unit in assisted living. A home health care aide costs $5,148 per month, or over $60,000 per year. And I can see this is a woefully underfunded project. How can you have an increasing pool of people drawing from an account like this if your own bill has highlighted the increase in the wave of new beneficiaries? This is just a cheat to be I'm sorry. It's just
cheap.
It's just too cheap to be beneficial for the long run.
According to the program, the average monthly contribution by Washington workers will be $24.21 or $291 per year. That's $291 per year. That's considerably cheaper than long-term care insurance, and the authors of the bill point out that obtaining long-term care insurance at this price would be hard to come by. Not just in price, but also finding a company to write the policy has become relatively scarce. In 2002, there were 102 companies offering long-term care insurance coverage in the state of Washington. Today, there are only 12. And as a side note, I've tried to quote this for numbers of people in the past 10 years, and I can't get anybody to underwrite anybody. There are new policies coming out that are hybrid.
Hybrids,
life
right.
And long-term care. So if you never use the care and you die, your family gets your money back. And so I see those as possibilities. And we have a policy right now. It's very transparent where you can see up front whether you qualify. You can read whether you have certain illnesses, take certain medications. If you're interested in that, shoot me an email, Sherry, Sherri, at rfmoney.com, and I could just send you the how it works kind of stuff because it's an interesting concept. But anyways. So they are providing an opt-out option where people who have already purchased private long-term care insurance on or before November 1st of 2021 could apply for an exemption. According to the Employment Security Department, about 508,000 Washingtonians have already opted out. For reference, the current population of Washington is an estimated 7.8 million. About 38% of those are under 18 or over age 65, bringing the working population to about 4.8 million. The problem with the opt-out, which is 508,000 compared to a working population of 4.8 million, the problem with the opt-out is that it would dilute the fund for future payouts. The fewer participants in the pool, the less money to invest and eventually distribute. The money for the tax is pooled in a trust fund and, like Social Security, used to pay out benefits in the future. And statistically, those who would remain in the pool would tend to be those with no other alternatives and who are likely to need the most benefits. The long-term problem is how to fund long-term care. This is an issue that other states, including Georgia, will likely tackle in the near future. According to an OECD, which is an Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, study, the U.S. has by far the most significant long-term care market, making up a whopping 2% of our GDP in 2017. Additionally, the Congressional Budget Office has estimated that Medicaid expenditures will grow by an annual rate of 8%, with enrollments jumping from 71 million in 2012 to 91 million by 2023, per the Medicaid website. Currently, Medicaid pays for more than half of all long-term care in the U.S. and more than 60% of care for nursing home residents. This is why our budget concerns me.
Exactly.
We have increasing costs for Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, long-term care, and no one's talking about it. Nobody is dealing with this.
And this is probably one of the most one of the biggest problems people have individually with having to spend their own retirement money down.
Right.
But I guess retirement money is there for whatever you need it for. But it can drain your account so quick.
Very fast. In 2023, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid accounted for 44% of all federal outlays.
Yep.
So wake up, politicians.
And it's only going to get worse. All right, I have an interesting question here. Why do credit card companies give you 30 days to pay them back? And I wonder if anybody's ever really considered that. But if you make credit card purchases on the first day of your billing cycle, you're allowed 30 days to pay off your balance before the credit card company starts charging interest. According to NerdWallet, and most importantly, the federal law, your due date must fall on the same day each month, and it must be at least 21 days after the statement closing date. So while your due date won't change, the closing date might adjust from one month to the next to allow the required 21 days. But why are credit card companies allowing you 30 days interest-free as a loan? That is if you pay off your full amount within the specified time, of course. Clark Howard says the outside the fact that it's always been that way, credit card companies are not as generous as this might make them sound. If everyone paid their balances in full at the end of each 30-day cycle, they go out of business. Credit card companies make enough money to carry people who do pay off their credit cards each month through the people who do not pay off their credit card balances each month. And that's about as simple as you can make it. From my own research, Clark is right. There is no apparent reason. Credit cards just landed on the net 30. In business, there are any number of net pays like net 15, net 20, net 30, and that's the period of time companies are given to pay bills for goods and services. Once that magic number passes, interest starts to accrue. This is a huge benefit to the consumer. It is an interest-free loan, but you have to be careful with this concept. Allowing yourself to overindulge at the expense of blowing your budget out of the water can result in devastating effects on your retirement time horizon or even your ability to make monthly bills meet. And if you don't have a great track record of managing money, buying on credit could be detrimental to you. To drive this point home, the average credit card interest rate right now is 24.58%, according to a July 31st article. Of course, your card may be on the lower end of that spectrum because of your good credit history. Well, that's good for you. But remember this. This is the average, so that means that there are cards out there that are higher. Do you know the interest rate on your card? Have you taken the time to research cards that may lower your interest rate? It may be time to do that, especially if you're carrying balances each month.
So, but be wary of low introductory offers that reset at some point in the future,
Yep.
and look for cards that give you benefits.
That's right.
So we have a Marriott card that we use a lot, so we can stay for free at a Marriott the night before we fly out of Atlanta, Hartsfield. And then we have a Delta card, so we can get free flights on that. And then we have a Southwest card, so we can fly to see our daughter in Colorado free. And there are cards out there with great benefits. So if you're not getting anything out of your card and you pay it off every month, you really need to switch to a card where you're going to get some benefits like we do that we use all the time.
Yep. And according to Wallet Hub, the highest interest rate in history was 79.9% on a card offered by First Premier Bank, and that was in 2010. But thankfully, that offer is no longer available. The current highest rate is 36% on the First Premier Bank MasterCard credit card. The runner-up is not much better at 35.99 from Total Visa and the Milestone MasterCard. With rates like these, just making the minimum payments can allow the balance to grow even though you're making the required minimum payments. So, please restrict your credit card charges to what you can actually pay off each month. You work hard for your money, so work hard at keeping your money your money. And for Pete's sake, teach your kids and grandkids about money and how they can achieve their financial goals by applying common sense, logic, and self-restraint.
So I talked to a woman who's in her 70s. I think she was 71, and she had $70,000 in credit card debt. Mm-hmm. And she's on a pension and Social Security, and she's taking her entire Social Security check every month and using it to pay it down. And I did the math, and it's not possible. She needs to file bankruptcy. She doesn't want to hear it, though. Doesn't want to hear it. And wants to keep paying all this money, and it's impossible for her to even pay it off in her lifetime. You just cannot rack up that kind of debt with that high interest rate. The worst case scenario, you could go get a home equity line of credit, pay it off, and then pay off an equity line, but I don't even know if that's possible with her income and her age.
Yeah.
But she didn't want to tell me, and I knew there was something that I wasn't picking up from our conversation, and that's what she finally came out with, and it's like, wow, we don't ever carry a balance, and we have not for years because it's such a rip-off.
Yeah, you remember the old Sears credit cards?
Yeah, that was my first credit card.
Yeah, mine too. And
I had a $75 limit.
I had an $800 limit, and I ran it up, and it took me forever to get that thing paid off. So anyway, we're at the halftime, and you've been listening to Your Money with Randy and Sherry Goss with Rosenberg Financial Group. And if you'd like to call in today to contribute to the show, the number is 478-742-0940. And Rosenberg Financial Group has offices in Macon and Warner Robins, and you can learn more about us by visiting our website, retirerelax.com. And we offer complimentary consultations. Setting up an appointment is easy. Just call our office at 478-922-8100, and we offer free seminars to the community. So if you're looking for a guest speaker, give us a call and discuss it with Sherry, and y'all can select the topics that you'd like for us to cover.
Perfect. So here's a typical Middle Georgia prospect that comes to see me and how this works if you want to come in for an appointment. So before I even talk about money, there are things I want to know. So I want to know the age or ages of the person or a couple, depending on if it's an individual or a couple. What do they each do for a living, and what do they each earn? Are you earning a pension, which is very common in Middle Georgia? Do they have kids? How old are the kids, and how are they doing? What are the projected private school and college expenses? I want to understand the family unit, because there are outliers, such as supporting a child that is in and out of drug abuse or alcoholism or a failed marriage, having to help a kid pay for a divorce. I mean, there's all sorts of outlier things that I want to understand before we even get into the nitty-gritty of their finances. Living parents, where are they? That's another outlier. Where are they, and who will be responsible for their care? Are other family members nearby, and how is their health? Because if you're the one that's going to be taking care of the parent, that limits your ability to earn more money. And so you have to have a contingency plan for this. So here's an example. This prospect is a retiring firefighter with a pension. He has $380,000 in investments and $65,000 in debt, and he wants to know, what do I do next? Before someone comes in to see me, we send them a prospect form that they fill out with their current income, expenses, assets, and debt. After asking the previous questions, I learn that he is married and his wife is a stay-at-home mom, and the kids are in high school. Looking at the numbers, my first question is, does he plan to go back to work? And he does. Great. What sort of job does he want? What will it potentially pay him? Next is the plan to be completely debt-free before retirement. Based on his monthly spending and potential additional income, he should easily be able to pay off all the debt in the next 10 years. However, college tuition is an outlier. Will kids get grants or loans? What and where will they study? Do they have 529 plans? Do they know what they want to do? They're getting close to graduating from high school, and I tell him about the 17 careers that are free through Central Georgia Tech. He had never heard of this. In fact, they could study...
A lot of people haven't heard of it.
I know. It drives me crazy. In fact, they could study a 2-year program their junior and senior years and graduate high school with a technical degree. He wants to look into this, so I gave him the website. So what about his current portfolio? I want to see what he's currently invested in, and is it appropriate for the next 10 years? He's invested in very inexpensive growth funds, so I tell him to stay the course. If he doesn't have to move this money out of the plan, stay there, as it's cheap, and he's doing fine riding the market. And I recommend a year before the second retirement, he come back to see me and let's look at all of this again. At that point, he may want somebody to actively manage his money to avoid large losses, which is what we do. And I explain this to him and show him our current portfolio and the fees we charge and talk about the current market conditions. I encourage him when he starts the new job to sign up for their 401k and continue to buy into growth funds as he has been comfortable doing. Not everybody wants to do this, however. Every person who comes to see me has a different scenario, and I advise them based on the information they provide. Good morning. You're on with Randy and Sherry.
Good morning. How are you today?
We are great.
How are you doing?
I get to the point pretty quick. By the way, I really appreciate the common sense advice that you give folks every week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't listen every week, but I try. Today's question, and I don't think, unless maybe you have some experience in this, you can answer this right away. I read an article this week that said that for the first time, pet insurance was, I guess health insurance, was available in Georgia. And one, I didn't realize it had not been
That's weird.
available previously. But two, if it is, vet care has become very expensive in the last decade or two because of the advances in technology. And when you take a pet to the vet, it's often more expensive than you anticipated because of all that technology and the costs associated with it. I'm just wondering if one you could comment on today, and if you can't, maybe do some research and talk about it in the future.
You bet. There are a number of places that you can get pet insurance. And one of the things I had read was the ASPC also offers pet insurance. Now, I don't know anything about Georgia just beginning
So
to
I have
offer it.
clients who've told me that they have pet insurance because one of them, just their pet was in, where's the place that they wanted us to take our cat when she was really sick? It's a university. There was a university in
It was in Alabama.
and there's another one. I can't remember where it is, but they took their pet and the pet had surgery. It was like $10,000. But they had pet insurance. So I've got to look into this because I thought pet insurance has been around for years in Georgia.
Well,
Maybe it's just not locally offered by a Georgia firm or something like that. I'll have to check that out.
We'll check it out and see what we can dig up for you. But, we have a friend that's in the pet industry, and it's just amazing how much, especially with the millennials, that
pet spending is through the roof.
Pet spending is just massive right now. So a lot of folks are looking to have pet insurance because, pets are as expensive as kids sometimes. So they just don't
pets have become the kids.
Well, they just don't talk back.
They don't have kids. They have pets. So pet spending, I've been watching. This is fascinating to me. So about 10 years ago, are you still there?
I am.
Okay. About 10 years ago, I found a chart, and it showed pet spending exploding and birth rates dropping like a rock. And when we moved downtown into a loft, it was fascinating to see all these kids that are going to Mercer, walking around in their athleisure, living in lofts that cost $100 a square foot, and the giant pets they had, the giant dogs, and they're all out walking these giant expensive dogs. That's their kid. Literally, that is where this is headed. We're going to have to increase immigration to fill jobs in the future if we can't get people to have babies. Anywho.
Well, I won't take any more of your time this morning on that topic, but if it can be approached in the future,
yeah,
you bet.
I'll be listening.
All right, great. And that was a good question. It really was.
It's a great question. I'm going to go talk to the vet down the street from
I am
us.
too. That's what I was going to do.
Me first.
No, me.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye.
So anyways, the bottom line with this prospect that I'm talking to in my office is he's in good shape and should have another decade plus of income. He just needs to make sure he makes a good budget, sticks to the budget, makes it a priority to pay off his debt in the coming years. The only outlier I see is the kids, that neither wants to go to an expensive private school, so it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing. One even mentioned going into the military, so I told about Randy's career and the bonuses they're currently offering. If you have any grandkids that aren't sure what they want to do, there are some serious bonuses out there for people that want to. Now, do you know if that's only for people with a degree, or is it for people that don't have a degree?
No, it just depends on the career field that they're
That's right.
in.
That's what it was.
But if you want to get into a career field in the military and you're going to go take the ASVAB test, please study the manual. It's not that hard, but you want to study the manual to understand what you're getting into, because if you score low, you might not be able to get into a career field that's offering the bonuses.
True. Yep. So anyways, it was a great meeting. This is what, with this prospect, this is why I love what I do. It's just a blast, meeting new people.
And if you're considering retirement, I encourage you to come see us for a complimentary consultation. And when you go see any financial advisor, you need to lay all your cards on the table. That's the only way the financial advisor can develop a well-rounded answer for you to solve the problem that you originally came in for. So, anyway, employers are cutting off access to weight loss drugs for workers.
So we didn't see this coming.
All right. You probably have heard of the drug Wegovy and Ozempic. These names have exploded as word is spread about their weight loss benefits. So many people have turned to drugs used for weight loss that some employers are cutting off insurance coverage to head off the climbing bills. Spending on this popular drug can cost as much as $1,350 a month for a patient, and is quickly leaped into the tens of millions of dollars for insurance plans. The outlays are straining the finances of some plans, including those funded by employers. Last month, Morgan Stanley analysts raised their estimates for the anti-obesity market to $77 billion worldwide in 2030, up $23 billion from the previous forecast. Diabetes drugs have become an effective way to treat behavioral issues and addictions. The rising popularity of the drugs is confounding companies. They may want to help employees who are severely overweight and can have a related medical condition that adds to the health insurance costs, but are worried about adding the new drug, which is very costly.
You might think that despite the rising cost of these drugs, there should be reductions or offsets in other health care costs as people lose weight and their body stops needing medical care for other ailments connected to obesity. Well, according to the University of Texas System Health Plan, they are seeing improvements in the high medical bills they currently pay. I need to research that data for next week. I need to look deeper into that because I have a client that is on a medication that he's no longer on insulin because he's on one of these drugs.
Do you have to just continue taking this stuff?
Forever.
Forever? Unless you change your entire thoughts about food, I guess. The behavior behind it.
His is more complicated, but then I have other friends who were on it to lose weight, and their doctor cut them off of it, and they've gained all the weight back. And so I thought this was a drug that you would go on temporarily so you could change your eating habits, but they want you on it forever, and I have no idea what the long-term consequences of taking this drug is.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, Ascension Healthcare, which operates nonprofit Catholic hospitals and other health facilities in several states, primarily in the Midwest and South, stopped covering anti-obesity drugs, including Wegovy and Saxenda, for the health plans for the health plan members July 1st. The exclusion also applies to older weight loss drugs such as Phentermine. Some employers have continued to cover the drugs, which have taken steps to try to curb the cost. The University of Michigan earlier this year increased the monthly copay for Wegovy and Saxenda from $2.45 from $20. And according to GoodRx, these drugs are intended for long-term use, and you can continue the treatment if you can tolerate the medication. And if you're on this drug and are considering stopping, be sure to consult your health care provider first.
Because you're going to be sick as a dog.
Based on a friend.
Based on a friend of mine. She was sick as a dog going on it. They cut her off of it, and she was sick as a dog coming off of it. And I really thought where this was headed is portion control. It would teach you to only eat a cup of food 6 times a day because that's all your body can consume on this drug because it slows down your digestive system. And I thought once you got into a habit of that and you would choose healthier food, that you would keep the weight off and come off the drug. But they want you on this thing forever. And to me, being on another drug forever is just not an answer to the food choices you make and how much you eat is not a solution. I just don't see this as a good thing.
Well, moving on.
Yep. So how do I do that? The new hires of 2023 are unprepared for work. I am hearing this from all my clients who own businesses. Remote learning during the pandemic left students short of basic skills. Now companies are trying to teach them on the job. Roman DeVincenzo was consulting for a robotics company in Silicon Valley last fall when he asked a newly minted mechanical engineer to design a small aluminum part that could be fabricated on a lathe, a skill normally mastered in the first or second year of college. How do I do that? Asked the young man. So DeVincenzo, an engineer who has built technology for NASA and Google and who charges consulting clients a minimum of $300 an hour, spent the next 3 hours teaching lathe work 101. He said, the kids in school during the pandemic, all they've done is work on computers. The knock-on effects of years of remote learning during the pandemic is gumming up workplaces around the country. It is one reason professional service jobs are going unfilled and goods aren't making it to the market. It also helps explain why national productivity has fallen for the past 5 quarters, the longest contraction since at least 1948, according to the U.S. Labor Department. The shortcomings run the gamut from general knowledge, including how to make change at a register, to soft skills such as working with others. Employers are spending more time and resources searching for candidates and often lowering expectations when they hire. Then they're spending millions to fix new employees' lack of basic skills. Talent First, a business-led workforce development organization in Grand Rapids, Michigan, is encouraging employers to stop trying to hire based on skill, and because it's not true. You list things on your resume, and it's not even something you know how to do, but it's something you were supposed to be doing because of the degree that you got. Instead, hiring managers should look for a willingness to learn. More students who do it. How do you figure that out? You need like how do you know if somebody's willing to learn? They can say anything in an interview. Anyways, more students who do enroll struggle to earn passing grades, says Patty Connect, Vice President of Ascend Learning Healthcare, a private company which helps train medical professionals. And even if they do graduate, more are struggling to pass a certification exam. By then, they may already be on the payroll but unable to work.
Right.
The delays cost hospitals an average of $42,000 per student who fails the certification exam.
Wow. Well, I found a scary note on this topic. Last year, Ivy Tech Community College, the largest nursing program in Indiana, had to embed tutors in the classroom to assist lagging students with skills they should have mastered in high school. Some of the most basic included math necessary to figure out the correct dosages of medicine.
Right?
That's crazy.
So I have a client who teaches basic math at Central Georgia Tech as high school graduates cannot do multiplication tables. He's having to teach them how to multiply. They don't understand it. He does that and basic algebra because they can't start Central Georgia Tech because they can't pass the entry exam to even do basic multiplication. It's way worse. I think this problem is way worse than this article is talking about.
Yep.
Companies are also trying to instill a work ethic in their employees that includes taking some initiative, getting off their phones, and engaging with visitors. They're not looking to be productive, Patty says. If they're not told what to do, if someone isn't managing every second and keeping them busy, their inclination is not to self-identify what they can do. It's to do nothing.
Right. And the problem extends to the military and prompted the Army to create a new testing boot camp to help recruits pass, a requirement for gaining admission to the military. The scores on the math and spelling are the worst she's seen in 20 years.
30 years.
30 years, and adding, I'm really concerned about by the product that's coming out of the school system currently.
Here's the problem nobody's talking about. The classrooms are out of control, and there is no punishment for bad behavior unless you just send the kid home or send him or her to a school for bad kids, which they're just going to do even worse.
Yep.
I mean, remember back in grade school when you had a principal and they had a paddle on the wall and your teacher could send you to the office?
That.
You could send you to the office and you get a paddling, and so you didn't want to go because it was going to hurt and be embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's out the window. I have people telling me horror stories about what goes on in their classrooms, and they can teach kids walking up to teachers and cussing them out,
punching them.
I mean, I don't understand this.
Yep.
So, anyways, there's no punishment for bad behavior unless you just send the kid home. I already said that. Where are the parents? Our kids started doing chores. Our kids started doing chores at the age of 5 and had jobs at 16 and were expected to make a contribution to the home and their finances. We need to hit a reset button, as I'm afraid a lot of these kids will never succeed in life, as it's never been expected of them. So as a parent, you have a choice, and this does not apply to every scenario. There are exceptions. Have expectations for your children, hold them accountable, or let them live in the basement for the rest of your life.
Right. In another article from CNBC, the construction industry in America is facing an extreme shortage of labor, roughly 650,000 workers short, showing slowing competition of construction projects from residential homes to infrastructures to hospitals. It's a bad scene right now in the construction industry.
Yeah, we're kind of living in that.
But here's a way that we can maybe solve some of these issues. There's 4 ways AI is changing skill-based hiring. Younger generations are not following the traditional career paths, as Dustin Burgess, a senior vice president of strategic advisory at Magnet, a leading integrated workforce management platform provider. Many are upskilling themselves and entering the job market right out of high school, while others are actively pursuing development opportunities in the workplace that may not be reflected in their job titles. As a result, more hiring managers are emphasizing specific capabilities over institutional endorsements or job titles. This is known as skill-based hiring. Skill-based hiring is an approach where degrees and experience are not required. Instead, the traditional approach where an advanced degree or specific job experience is required. Employees are asking the applicants if they have the required skills to do the role. Traditionally, cataloging an organization's skills and inventory and matching applicants' skills to the job descriptions was a manual, time-consuming process. No longer, thanks to artificial intelligence. With the emergence of AI, organizations can parse out these skills and job descriptions and can now accurately match them to a position. AI can actually synthesize this information at a tremendous scale. As a longtime champion of data-driven workforce management, Burgess is observing some key impacts of AI on skills-based hiring. Here are 4 of the most significant changes. The first is AI is opening up untapped and overlooked talent pools. For savvy recruiters, the skill-based hiring comes with many benefits. Access to fresh, new, and affordable talent, for one. No longer focus exclusively on candidates with specific degrees. Recruiters can use AI to seek out applicants from every source available.
AI helps expedite time to fill, and you're finding the best talent possible, and you can likely find candidates cheaper if you're looking in cost-effective markets. A similar dynamic is evident with the rise of remote work. Many of these types of skills, you don't need them to be on-site, and with that you have access to a global talent market.
Right. Another key benefit of skills-based approach is that it offers greater access to diverse candidate pools that may not have been had the means to attain advanced education via the traditional route. In fact, some organizations today are deploying internships and apprenticeships specifically focused on upskilling these underserved communities.
AI is also opening up internal talent pools by analyzing an organization's current staff and hiring process, performance and retention data, which is saving a lot of money as compared to hiring costly outside agencies. Good morning. You're on with Randy and Sherry.
Good morning, Randy and Sherry. This is your most favorite wedding official.
Yay!
How are you?
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, but did you know that I'm an undercover 13-year Army veteran, Army recruiter?
No.
I do remember you telling me that, yes.
Yeah, so you said something. I was like, oh, leave it alone. No, that's correct. On the ASVAB test, there's only 4 portions that a person really needs to focus on. Some people are like, oh, I want to go into electronics, so I need to study electronics. No, you don't. There's an aptitude test. It says that if you can read at this level, if you can do math at this level, you can comprehend this. So there's math knowledge, arithmetic reasoning, word knowledge, and paragraph comprehension. Those 4 areas is what the overall test score comes from. If you do well on that, 50 or above, then it opens up to all the bonuses and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and if you don't, then whatever they have left is what you're probably going to be presented.
Yeah, it really changes things. And you know what's funny is I have a young man from my church that just went into the Army, and of course, I was backing him up. He left, and man, I've had guys over the years that got kicked back because they were 2 pounds overweight,
right?
Or they didn't make tape tests, and this guy was almost 10 pounds overweight. They're like, don't worry, you'll work it off when you get to base.
Right? That'll be gone in a week.
We've got a guy that's been, he's been one of our servers at Johnny's Pizza down in Warner Robins, and he's going into the Marines, and he's probably down to like 7 days right now, but he's been getting up every morning and doing an entire PT regiment, and right now he can still run about 10 miles, so he'll be just fine when he gets there. But you can't sit down and do nothing before you go into basic training, especially for the Army and the Marines,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It will wear you out.
Cardio.
So are you recruiting guys, young kids out of your church mostly?
Well, if they ain't got nowhere else to go, I'm sure I'm going to point them in the right direction.
Yay.
Right. Yep.
Yep. It could be life-changing for them.
Yeah.
And it's amazing when you have somebody that that's kind of, just like your general, Joe, and they go in through basic training, whether it's the 6 weeks at the Air Force or the 16 weeks in the Marine, when they come out, man, you can see a difference, can't you?
Oh, I never forget. His name was Steve Dillon out in California, Stockton, California. Steve, if you look in the dictionary for a skater dude, that was him. Big blonde hair, always had the baggy clothes and had the skateboard and high tops and all this. And anyway, he joined the Army, came in one day, they came in civilian clothes. And, I looked around the corner and said, hey, can I help you? And I had no clue who he was. I honestly didn't.
Transformation.
But when I heard his voice, I said, Steve? Dude, no way. I mean, it was such a transformation. And
they're so proud of the progress they've actually made.
Oh, absolutely. And from then on, every time he came by, he came in uniform. I'm like, dude, you're not on the HRAP program. He says, yeah, but the chicks like the uniform.
It's like both of our kids benefited. When we went to their graduation, they've come out singing and jogging in formation, and I couldn't recognize our daughter. She was in the front row. I couldn't recognize her, and she was already a fit, healthy person, but it took her to the next level. It was incredible. And so she works for the government now. She spent some time in the Air Force. Our son went through the Guard.
Got a great skill.
Both of them had great experiences going through basic. It was good for both of them. I almost wish that it was mandatory, but we can't do that kind of thing in this country because nobody will agree to it. But I would have benefited from it. I mean, everybody I know would have been better coming out the other end of that with self-discipline and focus and all of those things. So good for you doing that.
I got to give a shout out to my daughter, Vanessa. She did 10 years active.
Yay.
She went to Iraq, Afghanistan, did a drill sergeant tour, and now she's the assistant to the AG out in California for the Army National Guard.
That's fantastic.
And AG stands for Adjutant General.
Oh, that's a great job.
Yep. So she's like, Dad, I'm out here with this governor. I don't even know him. I don't like him, but that's okay. I'll be there. Do what you got to do, girl.
That's right.
Good for her.
All right.
Good
Thanks
for
for
you.
calling in. Good to hear from you.
Nice to hear your voice.
That's it. All right. Take care.
Take care.
All right.
I don't know where I am.
Step 2.
AI can flag unqualified candidates earlier in the hiring process. If recruiters are using AI to craft job descriptions and parse applications, it makes sense that some candidates will also turn to AI to customize their resumes. In fact, this is already happening. We're seeing much stronger matches across the board for candidates because they're using these solutions, Burgess says. They're going into AI services and saying, hey, help me build out my resume to best match with software engineers where I have these skills. This presents a conundrum for recruiters, how to validate candidate qualifications without sacrificing their time to fill. AI can help. There are new technologies out there that allow for companies to accurately assess these skills. AI can even detect undesirable behavior when applicants are asked to take quizzes and tests. Technologies are so advanced now that they can actually confirm that a candidate is the person taking the test and that they're not cheating. They are not looking off screen, and they're really focused on the task at hand. I would like to see how they do that. I would like to meet a company that's doing this stuff and really see the process and how this is working.
And the third one is AI has a voracious appetite for skills data. AI is proving to be especially helpful with part-time employees hired during seasonal and cyclical periods or when labor demands outpace supply. Because these highly skilled workers are expected to be productive on day one, placing the wrong person can be very costly. Using AI to find the right person increases the odds of success, but only when the algorithms are given as much data as possible. At Magnet, for instance, more than 205 billion data points are used to drive the smarter talent hiring management. That data comes from a wide variety of sources, including external data sources that keep and deep reservoirs of real-time VMS transactions across the Magnet client base. Magnet has over 40,000 different data sources, and they pull data from publicly available sources like government bureaus and labor statistics. They are also partnered with over 10,000 supply partners around the globe. This partner network is key, according to Burgess, a purely vendor-neutral management service provider. Magnet isn't affiliated with any of the staffing agencies, so there is no economic incentive to favor one candidate pool over another. This diverse multiplier network helps make Magnet data set completely unbiased.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So I've had clients whose kids have tried to get on base, sheet metal workers, etc., and they do the application and they have a resume and they don't hear from anybody. And what I believe is there are key words that have to be in your resume or in the application for you to even get looked at. I think they're already using something like this, and they're able to just scan the documents, and if they don't have like the top 10 keywords, they don't even get a phone call.
I don't know what they're using right now. I know before when we were hiring, especially the civilian side, you were just basically given a bunch of folders, and you had to go through every resume manually to look at it. So I don't know what they're using right now, but we can always go over there and find out.
We really should go over and talk to them.
And the hiring office used to be over at the museum in one of the back buildings, so we can maybe just stop in and talk.
I need to talk to them because I've had cases that made no sense to me where people were trying to get on and they couldn't even get a call back. And there has to be something. And I had someone else who was applying recently. I think it was I can't remember who it was. Somebody that came to see me from retirement planning in general. But they were also trying, and they mentioned something about having to make sure that there were certain words, certain verbiage in the resume itself so that they would even get looked at. So we need to check that out.
Yes.
Put that on the shopping list. All right. Anyways, 3, right? 4. Oops. AI will require new skills of recruiters, too. For all their ease and simplicity, modern AI platforms are still not fully automated. At minimum, most services require a prompt or description of what the AI is being asked to create. For example, asking an AI to draw me a puppy is a vague prompt that returns unexceptional results, whereas draw me a poodle puppy jumping in the grass in the style of the Italian Renaissance will produce a more interesting work. Likewise, organizations must be both specific and creative when asking AIs to screen applicants. They need to be both imaginative and analytical. I'd like to see examples of that. In the past, AI skills were found within data science. Now they involve critical thinking and problem solving because operators must question the results returned from the AI, interpret the data, then analyze the results. Admittedly, this is uncharted territory, and employment professionals are forgiven if they're unfamiliar with or even intimidated by this brave new world of workforce management. But here again, Burgess stresses the importance of working with a trusted partner whose only goal is helping clients succeed by finding the right applicant for the job. Skills-based hiring offers numerous potential benefits from a talent sourcing and retention perspective, but it will require more than AI-powered technical solutions and quality data. Partnering with a team of experts with deep knowledge of job. I'll stop there.
Anyway, it is a brave new world, and it appears it's going to open up a lot of new jobs, even just to manage this data.
But we're going to look into this further.
Yep. Anyway, thank you for listening to Your Money, produced by Rosenberg Financial Group. As financial advisors, the main thing that we do is retirement planning and providing advice to our clients for our clients' investment accounts. And if you're looking for a financial advisor, please contact our office to set up a complimentary consultation. Our office number is 478-922-8100, and you can learn more about us by visiting our website, retirerelax.com. And if you have questions or topics you'd like for us to cover in a future broadcast, please email me at randy@rfmoney.com, and we look forward to connecting with you next week. Have a great weekend, everyone.